how can we systemize creative work? So ever since I started blogging, writing YouTube videos, doing all this kind of stuff, I realized I needed a systematic, repeatable way to come up with content ideas and to create videos. I've always been terrible at like generally planning things, right? And I've found that, when I was doing videos initially, I'd just be like, starting out a whole new topic and pulling everything together, very like kind of unorganized, etc. Today, I'd like to show you a little bit about the system that I now have in place, which I've been using to create content. My system essentially comes down to two parts. The first part is knowledge capture, so capturing ideas that I read and capturing interesting things that I find. My second part is the creation part. It's the writing of the article, it's the creating the script for the video, it's shooting the video, all of that kind of stuff. So capturing knowledge, capturing ideas, and then putting those ideas together into videos. So let's dive into knowledge capture. First, a question: how often do you get great ideas, but you just jot them down in Apple Notes, or you scribble them somewhere on a piece of paper, or you maybe email it to yourself, but several weeks later you have many other notes, many other things, and these thoughts, these ideas just kind of disappear, right? And they're untraceable. Or worse yet, you don't write down that idea and it just disappears, right? You never remember. This is a problem because you need to be collecting bits of knowledge throughout your day, throughout your life, right? So that you can later then have a resource available for you to then create content. Now, James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, he puts it this way: the person who creates better information flows creates better thoughts. And it's very true, right? If you have a system that can harness the crazy amount of information that we get nowadays and can filter out the profound, the useful, the incredible things that you find every day from, the noise, then you can create better content, you can create better thought. And so the first part, the most essential part of the content creation system is the knowledge capture system. And for my system, I use a Notion template created by Thomas Frank, right? And this is called Ultimate Brain. It's based on Building a Second Brain by Tiago Forte. That is a game-changing book that you need to read about personal knowledge management. And the first avenue, the knowledge capture avenue, is really based on this premise of divergence. And that is branching out, collecting ideas, the chaos of ideas, opening the scrapbook, collecting raw materials, notes, samples, interesting things that really resonate with you. Right, so how do we quickly capture notes? Let me show you. So this is my iPad mini. I've got another video on why the iPad mini is amazing for, collecting notes and all this kind of stuff, but I'll show you how it works real quick. So on my home screen, I have a quick capture shortcut. Let's say I am listening to a podcast or I'm reading a book and I think, hey, that idea is pretty damn cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go on my iPad or my phone and I'm going to hit the quick capture button. Right, what I can then do here is, if it's a task, I'll put it in my tasks, but if it's a note, right, if it's something that I'm reading that I want to use later for content, I'll then create a note in my note inbox. So I'm going to click new. So let's say my note is about being yourself. So we should be ourselves in order to find who we truly are. So this is a concept from Jordan Peterson. So the general idea is that if you speak what you truly feel and act on it, you will see where life takes you and you will become who you should be. So one thing I like to do is I like to have one idea per note. Right, so this makes it searchable, so that it's like, if I browse through all my notes, I can see, hell, this is a cool idea here. Now, when I have time, which might be later, right, I'll go into my Notion and I'll go into my processing part, right, and you can see here I've got all of my different notes that I've quick captured, right, and I want to file them away into somewhere where I can look at them a bit more easily. So you see, we should be ourselves in order to find who we truly are. So that's Jordan Peterson. So I've got a whole bunch of different areas that I can file this in, right? So you can see it kind of like in my different interests here. So in this one, I will put this under, I'd say, practical philosophy, right? Done. So I filed it away. And the whole, file system is using the para system by Tiago Forte. So essentially you have different areas of your life. I can show you this now. So I have my different areas of my life, right? So these areas are areas where I have to they're essentially my job roles, right? And areas that I need to keep up. So my family, website, my businesses, all of this kind of stuff, right? But my resources are just general areas of interest where I store interesting things that I might use later. Right, so for example, audience building, entrepreneurship, history, practical philosophy, all of this kind of stuff. Right, so I've now processed my note inside the practical philosophy section, and you can see, a whole bunch of my other notes here as well. So that is the knowledge capture part. Now I want to show you the next part, which is the content creation part. And this content creation part, and generally the entire process, follows this Tiago Forte principle, which is that knowledge work is a process of divergence and convergence. So what he means by that is that divergence is the chaos of going down the rabbit hole in different ideas, collecting ideas into your scrapbook, collecting raw materials, notes, samples, all of these kinds of things, right? That kind of chaotic divergent bit, where you're going out and collecting information. The second bit, the creating content, is pulling the ideas together into outlines of content and cutting out bits, excess bits that you don't want. That is convergence, right? Bringing the ideas together. And to quote Steve Jobs, creativity is just connecting things, right? So we have lots of different notes now, and now we want to bring the ideas together into a cool piece of content. So let me show you how I do that. So once again, I'm going to go into my Notion. And as you can see, I like to use two different windows. This allows me to see, a bit better, what I am doing, and it allows me to cross-reference and all this kind of stuff. So in the Thomas Frank template, he has a section called Creator's Companion, right? And I have a different section for each of my different content channels, right? So for this one, I'm going to create a YouTube video. So I'm going to go into my YouTube, right? And you can see there's an ideas section. Now, when I have ideas, I will create a little idea. So new idea, maybe we'll do something, why you should just be yourself. And I'm doing a video on this as well, so this is handy, it's easy for me to know. So, I'll just keep creating ideas all the way here. And if I want to actually action on the idea, what I'll do then is I'll click it, right? And I'll remove the idea tag, and it then goes down into my planned videos section, right? And you can see this is kind of like a Kanban board where you take, the idea from planning stage all the way to editing, all the way to publishing, etc. Right, so I click open it, and I'll open here, and then I'll click on the template, which is, create a YouTube video. So now I have a project file, and I don't want to go too deep into Notion, but generally what I've done, you see, is I've done the idea generation bit, and now I'm, actually creating the article, I'm creating the content, I'm creating that video, right? So what I do is I go into the script, and on the other side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find as many bits of content to do with this idea of why you should be yourself. Yeah, so this is a cool one. The only way to truly connect with your audience is to be yourself. What else can I find? If you just be yourself, you'll attract listeners who like that. So that's from Dan Carlin. So if you just be yourself, you'll attract other people who be like that. Yeah, I know I've got some bits in practical philosophy, so I'm going to check that section as well. Right, practical philosophy. And we can see here, resist socially prescribed perfectionism. People will judge me. So this is if you're afraid of being judged, right? So resist socially prescribed perfectionism, right? And ultimately found my own voice by having 2 glasses of wine and writing an email to 2 close friends. So that's Tim Ferriss. Cool. So you can see I've, put down a bunch of different ideas that I've picked up along the way, a bunch of different notes, and I've got it all here, right? So the next part of the archipelago method is to then link these ideas in a kind of logical flow of the video that I want to create. So let's have a look. So why should you be yourself? Well, clearly the only way to connect with your audience is to actually be yourself, right? So to connect. So this one, I can talk about this, right? Maybe next I can do you'll attract like-minded people. So here I can put this point here. Yep, and this is kind of related. And then I can have another bit which is like how to be yourself. So how to be yourself. We've got Tim Ferriss's recommendation, which is like, you know, having a glass of wine, right? That's one. And, you know, I guess you could say like, you know, having the courage to write in your own voice, all of this kind of stuff. So essentially we've created a quick outline, and this kind of shows you very briefly my kind of content creation process. So you see we put all of the information on a single page, and then we started reorganizing it under headings and everything like that, linking ideas together in a logical flow to then create the article. So after this, I'll then simply film this. I'll talk to the camera, just looking at the bullet points and just like, you know, riffing, right? And then of course I'll move the video down my publishing line. So I'll go back into my YouTube, right? And after I've filmed it, you know, I'll then move it down. So you see I was just done writing, and then after that I'll review the writing, and you see I'm ready to record, and then when I've recorded it, I'll move into editing. So you see we put all of the information on a single page, and then we started reorganizing it under headings and everything like that, linking ideas together in a logical flow to then create the article. So after this, I'll then simply film this. I'll talk to the camera, just looking at the bullet points and just like, you know, riffing, right? And then of course I'll move the video down my publishing line. So I'll go back into my YouTube, right? And after I've filmed it, you know, I'll then move it down. So you see I was just done writing, and then after that I'll review the writing, and you see I'm ready to record, and then when I've recorded it, I'll move into edit. I'll then put it, you know, ready to publish. I'll publish it, and you know, then it'll go into the completed. That's kind of my content creation process. That is kind of a insight into how you can systemize content creation. It's not the perfect method. I'm still working on it. However, it does show you the kind of two main steps that I've found so far. The first one being the knowledge capture. So putting everything, all of your ideas into a personal knowledge management system where you'll, you know, where you have a, you know, a reservoir of, you know, like resources of ideas, of notes that you've taken, of book notes, all of this kind of stuff. And then the other part, which is, you know, the content creation part, which is bringing those ideas together into cool videos, cool posts, all of that kind of stuff. So I hope that was helpful. Bit of a long video, but if you're a creator, if you're writing things, if you're publishing videos, having a system is a great way of ensuring consistency. And, you know, as Tim Ferriss says, systems are a great way to ensure that you keep creating content even when you don't feel like it. What matters more is being able to perform when you don't want to perform versus when you perform when you're like, you know, happy and excited to perform, right? And systems enable creators to consistently create content, to create good content, ready for our viewers and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So cool. My name is Jonathan Lowell, and thank you for watching.